Well, Social Tens, this is your final assignment for the semester. It is a basic reflection on who you are, how you fit in this world, and how you kind of your identity is linked to where you're from. Basically, what I'm going to ask you to do is, in your own words, film yourself answering how our society, your family, school, community, and government provides for you your basic needs, your safety and security, love and belonging, and how it helps build your esteem in order for you to become the best version of you. And then finally, I'm interested to hear what you think is the best version of you. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? In terms of who do you want to be? I'm really looking forward to your responses. Now, to give you some background, I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. The first is, where do we fit in the world? So if we look at the world in terms of continents, we know this. We know that there are about 2,153 billionaires in the world, and they have more wealth than 60% of the people combined, which is about 60% of the world's population. I assume none of you are billionaires. 40% of the world's population does not have access to the internet. So we see a widening gap between education in places like North America and other parts of the world. 0.5%, if the richest 1% of the world paid even 0.5% more in tax for 10 years, it would create 117 million jobs. So to give you a sense of where we fall in terms of rich and poor in the world. 75% of unpaid work in this world is performed by women. 12.5 billion hours, equaling $10.8 trillion in income worldwide. 43% is the income tax rate that we currently see in the world. In 1981, it was 66%. So what do all these numbers tell us? It tells us that the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, that the gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we need to understand that perspective so that we can understand our place in the world. Now, we don't fall in the super rich, but we do fall into that 5%. And what we know is this, that North America's population represents about 5% of the entire population of the world. And yet, we hold 40% of the world's wealth. So we're doing pretty good for ourselves here in Canada. Now, in terms of your final reflection, it kind of comes back to this idea of what is known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Abraham Maslow was a psychologist who studied positive human qualities and the lives of exemplary people. In 1954, he created this hierarchy. And the basic idea is this, is that you can't achieve one of these levels unless you first have your needs met at the level below. So breathing, food, water, sleep, your physiological needs, food, shelter, clothing. You have to have those basic needs met in order to continue to move up in terms of the hierarchy of needs. Safety, security of yourself, safety in terms of feeling safe, in terms of feeling safe in your community, safe in your country, and safety and security are important. So you have to have your basic needs met. You have to have a feeling of safety and security in order to then move on to love and belonging, friendship, family, marriage, all those kinds of things that become a part of an essential part of your life or fulfilling that part of your needs. Once we achieve these things, once we have our physical needs met, we feel safe and secure, we have a sense of loving belonging. That contributes to our sense of self-esteem or our self-worth. We feel like a good person because we feel like we deserve the things that we have in our life. When we look at the world today and we look at the top CEOs, for example, presidents of companies and those kinds of things, many of them are making millions of dollars a year. Meanwhile, their employees are making 1/10 of that. And the question becomes, are their employees doing 1/10 the work that they are? Are they that important to the company? Or have they been able to manipulate the system because they're in power to reward themselves without rewarding their employees? In the 1950s, bosses made about 20% more than their employees on average. Now instead of it being 20%, it's closer to 2,000%. And what does that do to the self-esteem of people? This all kind of circles back to what's going on in the world right now. As we talk about the Black Lives Matters movement, it's not just about Black lives, it's about people feeling like they don't matter. That the poor don't feel like they can achieve esteem because they can't meet their physiological needs. They don't feel safe and secure, and they don't feel like they belong. Now imagine being someone of color, being a black man in the United States, or a person who's First Nations. Do you feel safe? Are your needs being met? Do you have a sense of love and belonging in your community? How then are you supposed to feel the self-esteem and confidence to achieve and feel respected by others? And that esteem is an important part, because then that takes us to this idea of self-actualization. And self-actualization is a simple concept. It is about being the best version of yourself, about having all these basic needs met so that you can be the best you, that you can go on to live a life in which you become the best version of yourself. So if we were to get a little out there and start talking about like Avengers Endgame with different timelines, if we were to play your life over and over and over again, in how many of those versions would you be able to achieve the best version of yourself? So in this reflection, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and answer these basic questions. 1, how does your society help you meet your basic needs? 2, how does your society provide safety for you? 3, how does your society help you find love and belonging? 4, how does society aid in building your self-esteem? And then 5, how does our society, how does being a part of your family, being a part of this community in McGrath, being part of this country, how does that afford you the privilege of achieving the best version of yourself? Because we need to appreciate and understand how lucky we are, because we take these needs for granted, that they are going to be met, when in reality, not everyone, even here in our community or within Canada, has those needs being met, let alone now when we start to step outside of our bubble and go out into the world and look at what people are dealing with. So I've provided for you a little outline where you can kind of start to make some jot notes, write it all down, get your thoughts and ideas out. If you complete this timeline and submit it, I will take that into consideration. Although again, it's pass-fail. If you submit the assignment, I'm going to pass you. Okay? And basically, though, it'll help you organize your ideas so you don't sound like you're rambling. And this is what I'm looking for your final reflection. Look forward to hopefully seeing you all in the hallways in September. Cheers.